So as you may have seen in the last video, I started removing the wheel, and I decided to paint the front wheel just to give it a fresh look to the bike. I know that you have heard this before, but prepping is the most important step you have to take before embarking on a new project. Whether or not you need to understand if you are capable to do it, if you have the tools to do it, and most important in this case, is my wheel clean just so I can get to my next step. So with the wheel dried, I started just identifying all the areas. So in this case, I'm just identifying left versus right, and I went ahead and started hitting up the Loctite on the bolts on the front rotor, just so I can make sure that I can remove the bolts without stripping them. I carefully removed all the bolts. And you know me, I like to ensure that all of the bolts goes back to the same hole where they came from. So I started labeling them all by just making some markings that I can identify later. So I can identify the rotor on the hole on the rotor, the hole on the wheel, as well as the bolt itself. And now I'm going to start taping the holes, just to ensure that paint is not going to be entering on the threads where the bolts holding the rotor down actually go. And finally, I removed the ABS wheel. Alright, so this is where I started taping the tire. On this case, I'm actually painting the wheels with the tire on. Very important is I have enough tread on the tire where I don't have to worry about having to remove it for now. So that's one thing you have to think about when you're going to be painting your wheels. If your tire is not in a good place and you're not going to be powder coating your wheels, chances are that whenever you take your wheel to be removed, separated from the tire, the machine to remove the tire is probably just gonna create some scratches, so you have to be ready to fix them. And in this case, I can obviously just go ahead and just repaint, or at least add a little bit of the paint later on, but I decided that I have the actual tires in a good condition, so I'm just gonna go ahead and do it. Very important, just ensure that you are putting the tape underneath the lip to ensure that you're not gonna end up with a lot of paint on top of the tire. And now I'm choosing to use a bag as a place where I can just tape it where the tape started, and then going all the way to the opposite side of the tire, just to ensure I'm not gonna be wasting tape, and I have good coverage on the tire to ensure that I'm not gonna end up with the tire full of paint. So with the wheel ready, you know the drill. You have probably seen some other projects that I've painted in the past, so you know that I like to use alcohol to clean the wheel. And at this point, I'm just starting to add a little bit of a layer of the paint. I think this is the most important thing that I want to mention now, is that I'm not using any paint. I'm using Plasti. So why, Richard, you chose to use Plasti? That thing is just gonna come out, it's gonna look awful. So that's exactly what I wanted to prove you. So I'm going to be proving to you that a work done in a perfect way, following the instructions, you can actually get decent outcome. So the paint is gonna come out good. One thing that I want to mention is, on the first time that you saw me adding some of the paint, I was actually starting with shorter strokes, which is not normal for Plasti, but I was just laying down that foundation. At this point, from the second to the fifth color base or color code, I actually used longer strokes to ensure that I was gonna go ahead and create that thick pattern on the wheel. Give you some other benefits and views in a couple seconds. Now let's continue the video. So here I'm installing all of the bolts. Same process that I follow when I took them out, and then I will have my son just helping me in a second to torque them down. All right, so I'm officially done with the wheel. At this point, I just torqued everything as you saw on the video, this plus the ones on the other side. So before I install the wheel, I just wanted to give you a closer look without having everything on the bike just in the middle or in the way, so you can get a real look at how the paint actually came out. So the reason why I wanted to do this is because like there's a huge misconception about whether or not you can get a decent or a pretty good finish on Plasti dip. And as you can see, I think the answer is pretty obvious. I mean, you can. You just have to, do your prep, ensure that wheel is pretty clean, and of course, as I mentioned yesterday, this has glossifier, which is the clear for the Plasti dip. So you can see pretty clean, it's pretty shiny, and it looks great. Of course, it's gonna be a super hard task to keep pretty clean, but look on the inside, I think it actually came out pretty well. So I hope you like this, and now let's just get to install and see how it looks in the bike. Alright, so if you saw my last video, this is a reverse of the process that I used to remove the wheel. I'm just being very careful not to put any nicks on scratches on the paint. I aligned and my axle, put it in, and then this is the trick part. You have to be very careful with the way you install your caliper, because you want to put your hand in the back just so you can provide some cushioning when you're installing the caliper, so you don't nick or scratch your wheel. I torque everything down, and now let's take a look at the wheels. The video today. I wanted to do something different. There's a couple of things that I want to focus on this outro right now, super quick. One, why did I do it? I wanted to refresh the look of my bike. So this is a very inexpensive way to do it. If you think about it, and each of these cans, which I actually used, one in like a half of like color, and then the other one was like the actual glossifier, which is about maybe $5. So $5 each, $15. You have a new change. Secondly, if I don't like it, I can remove it. So that's as easy as that. And in addition to just remove it, you can also retain the original paint. So that did not take away from, or actually force me to sand the previous layer in order to get a surface that I can have new paint sticking to. So that's quite a benefit. One thing that I wanted to mention, there's a lot of misconception about Plasti dip, and like I think people have seen bad jobs done in the past, and they right away feel like, oh, this is crap, like this doesn't work. So no, it actually works. Everything that is white on my bike, I'll put a picture so you can see it. It has been painted since 2016, it's 2020, so it's been on the bike painted like that for 4 years, and it hasn't come off by any chance. Then the Plasti dip is going to get affected the same way paint is going to get affected if you get, for example, brake fluid. So you're not going to be actually losing anything. You just have to be careful, like any new freshly painted part, you have to treat it carefully, and then just do the prep so you know exactly what you're getting into, and you have a prep surface that you can actually paint, and it's going to come out looking great. Another thing that I wanted to point out is I lost the files where I actually removed the tape, and that's very important, and I apologize that it happened, but it did. So I used the blade in the middle, in between the tape and the lip of the wheel. So I used the blade just to make sure that there was no Plasti dip sticking to the tire, that when I was peeling off or actually pulling the tape, it was going to be pulling the paint from the wheels. That's something you have to do. And then super important, pump your brakes when you're installing your calipers, because if you don't, you're not going to have any brake power whenever you get on your bike and ride it for the first time. And lastly, ask yourself the question, is Plasti dip still an option in 2020? It is. You just have to know how to do it, and if you want to know more, just please let me know, and I'll be super happy to tell you exactly step by step what I did if something was not clear when I did it. I also pulled the cans out of water, as you saw me in the video. I did it because it's 50 degrees Fahrenheit here in Arizona right now, so it's super cold. So the rubberized material actually works better when it's like super melted or actually coming very very light coming out of the can, so I put them in warm water before I painted the actual wheel. All right, so last thing is, about a week ago, I actually reached out to a company here in Arizona to get my bike wrapped. And I'm not gonna mention the name because this is not about who the company is, about options. So at this point, I don't feel I can pay for a job to fully wrap my bike. So just to give you an idea, I got quoted about $1,200 to wrap my bike. So I guess if you wrap it, you can always unwrap it and retain the original colors. But to be quite honest, I think I can actually do paint the bike myself for less than, like, I don't know, maybe $200. So I am not saying that the $1,200 is a bad deal. It's just not the deal that I want right now. So, but if you think about, hey, every year I can actually change the paint on my bike, and let's say that it takes 10 cans of plastic just to do a bike, and I'm just doing, you know, easy math. You'll be paying maybe $50 every year just to change the color of your bike, in addition to the work that you're putting into, you know, material and as well as the effort. So think about it. It's actually not a bad idea. So, and something comes off bad and gets scratched, you just peel it off and you put new one. It's actually protecting your paint. So I think it's there's a lot of misconception about it. I love it because it gives me the ability to paint things without having to have a permanent having to make a permanent decision or permanent change in the bike, and I can just like take it off. My bike goes back to normal and I can have the option to do it again. So I hope you enjoy it. If you like this video, please consider subscribing, and if you like the video, also give me a thumbs up, and if you have questions, just leave me a comment, and if you want to reach out to me, my email and my website are on the description of this website. So thank you a lot.